A pleasant morning to all present here. On behalf of the Department of English, I deem it a great privilege to deliver the welcome address. I extend a hearty welcome to the eminent resource person, Dr. Sankara Kumar, Assistant Professor of English, PSG College of Technology. Hearty welcome to you, sir. We are indebted to our honorable correspondent, Thiru K. Palaniswamy Avargal, for giving us all the support and encouragement, and that makes us to excel in everything. A special mention about our beloved principal, Dr. N. Raman, who stands beside us and guides us, motivates us in all our endeavors. Special welcome to our head of the department, Ms. S. Yasmin. I extend a warm welcome to all the English faculty and all the faculty members of our college, and a special welcome to all the participants. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I invite Ms. L. Revati, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to present the bio speech of our chief guest, Dr. S. Sankara Kumar.
I am profoundly delighted to take an opportunity to introduce today's chief guest, Dr. S. Sankara Kumar, Assistant Professor in the Department of Applied Science English, PSG College of Technology, Coimbatore. He did his PhD in English language teaching from Anna University, Chennai during 2013. He has experienced over 20 years in the field of English language teaching, task-based language teaching, web skills, language assessment, student management, and administration in engineering education. He has received the e-teacher scholarship twice from US Embassy, New Delhi, for doing a 10-week online courses on web skills and language assessment in India with University of Oregon, USC. A recipient of international certification for teachers and trainers, professional level with distinction from Cambridge, ESOL examinations, University of Cambridge and Wipro Mission 10X, Bangalore in May 2011. An international certification for high impact teaching skills from Dale Carnegie Training Institute and Wipro Mission 10X, Bangalore in March 2011. Further, a teacher educator at English Language Teachers Association of India for Visual Learning Program, and he holds the position as Secretary of ELTAI Coimbatore Chapter. A British Council certified train the trainers for ELS and BEC programs. Recently, he has been selected as a presenter by Cambridge University Press, Chennai, to present Cambridge English programs. He has published more than 15 papers in the international and national level, delivered 50 plus lectures at regional, state, and national level conferences and seminars, and attended more than 80 programs related to ELT, teaching learning process, curriculum development, web tools, educational leadership, and entrepreneurship. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, we hand over the session to our distinguished resource person, Dr. S. Sankara Kumar, sir. So please, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful words of introduction, and I'm happy to be a part of this student induction program. I'm very much elated to be associated with the Kongu Kongu College of Arts and Science for having organized this program to motivate the freshers and to ensure that they do turn to be an excellent communicators in future. Is my voice audible? Am I audible to everyone? Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It's just to ensure. Yeah, thank you. Have you ever run through a list of to-dos while a friend poured their heart out to you? Or worse, noticed your neighbor or a friend neglect you in the same way? Or maybe you have cursed others under your breath because they were holding up the line for the subway ticket machine. Perhaps it could be that you wanted to say something, but you did not know how. Constructive communication, we are going to talk about, and the way we are going to give certain guidelines to ensure that you do achieve the perfection in your communication. Of course, constructive criticism is a bit hard, and sometimes it can be feel like one roadblock after the other. There are four important elements that you can talk about. One is about listening to yourself, using silence as a part of speech, listening to others, and speaking slowly, clearly, and concisely. A lot of what we do every day is automatic. We absent-mindedly walk down the street, sit in traffic, and tie our shoes. And I have found the same autopilot can be present in our own conversations as well. We have taken effort to listen to ourselves, to be mindful of the situation. We learn early to cut ourselves off from what is going on within ourselves. So often we tend to react to situations rather than approaching them mindfully. The first step in mindful communication or becoming an effective communicator is listening to your interactions. Notice that who in your life you have a difficulty speaking to and who you feel you can chat with freely. When examining your own interactions, you have to say or ask yourself a couple of questions around you. Do I gossip too much? Do I sometimes speak just to fill the silence? It's so important to simply stop for a minute and listen to your own words and think about your intention. When I don't feel like supported, I immediately crawl inward and allow self-doubt to take over. You naturally become a self-doubtful person. So for you, the feeling is like a burning sensation that moves up into your own throat. There is a feeling that it comes up to your throat, but never even comes out very easily. The words are there till your throat, but you are not able to communicate it properly. The moment you feel this way, I know that you have to pass for quite some time, or else you might behave passive aggressively. You are going to speak to them aggressively or raising your voices. This is the hardest part of mindful communication, but in your opinion, it is the most important one. Pausing is power. Sometimes when you remain silent is the most powerful communication that you are going to give it to the whole world, because as Rosenberg states, what others do may be the stimulus for our feelings, but it is not the cause. When somebody perverts you, somebody stimulates you, you are going to react to the maximum extent. You never know that. You never know that the cause behind your reaction. So, in order to make you an effective communication, there are so many people or the definitions would come out, okay, connected with the communication and how to make yourself an effective communicator. let's say a few of the definitions given by Google as well. There are so many definitions could be given by different experts and from internet also. So first and foremost definition, which I will taken it from Google, is imparting or exchange of information by speaking or writing or using some other medium, and a means of sending or receiving information such as telephone lines or computers. According to
Sir,
Peter
excuse
Drucker,
me, sir.
yes,
Sorry for the interruption, sir.
yeah,
Sir, your voice is not clearly audible, sir.
okay, yeah. Is it okay now? Is it audible, ma'am? Now?
Sir, no, sir. Your voice is breaking, sir.
Okay. Is it okay now? Is it audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now audible, sir.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
According to an expert called Peter Drucker, who has been named as the organizational communication guru, he stated, to be a successful employee when you are working for an organization, you must communicate both in the written and the spoken communication very effectively. Because when you are going to feed the data to the machine gives that output. And that output is really good or not could be checked by the quality check department. But that is not the case with the human beings. They are all more reflective and retaliating. They are all going to give immediate reaction to what you are communicating. So you need to be more effective in your communication. Otherwise, you are not going to be considered as an effective leader. In order to become an effective leader, you must understand the emotions of others. Once you are going to understand the emotions of others, you naturally turn to be a leader. This is something vice versa. A good communicator could easily turn to be an effective leader. An effective leader could understand the emotions of others. Even though several definitions have been stated, and my own intention is to ensure that the second definition, which we are really talking about from Oxford Dictionary, imparting or exchanging of information by speaking or writing using some other medium. To be an effective communicator, you need to instill the belief in others. Others must understand what you are communicating. Others must understand what you are writing. That is the way how you can turn to be an effective communicator. An ordinary communicator may simply exchange his or her opinion or ideas, vision, dreams, goals But an effective communicator is the only person who makes you to believe in whatever he desires you to do. That's what an effective communication is all about. Through a common system of symbols called a language. And it's not merely a communication that helps you to impart your knowledge, but a communication apart from the standard definitions given by the experts like A.V. Rodrigues, Peter Drucker, and Google, and from Oxford Dictionary and others. The communication that includes how you say it, including the tone of your voice. There is a saying, what you said is not very important, but how you said is more important. And why you say it, the intention behind your message, what you are transferring is to be understood by others. The purpose of the communication is very important. The intention must be there. And when you say it, at what time you are going to communicate the message and the time of the day or during an argument, for example. Yes. No. So when you say it, is it during that argument or during the time of the day when you are communicating something must be well understood by others. The duration or the chronological or chronomics involved, the time of the day or the duration of your communication, that matters more. For example, you're attending the session at the morning, and during the first hour itself, you cannot ask your teacher to give the leave, because immediately the teacher may yell at you, may shout at you, saying that you have returned to the class just before 10 minutes, and what made you to ask for the leave immediately? So you should not do that in the same way as you are expected. So when you say it, and try to identify appropriate time to communicate. And what you don't say. Sometimes what you don't say gives a clear picture of what is going on than what you say. You are supposed to communicate to what is really expected, what is really needed. When you are supposed to speak, you need to speak. If you don't speak, the purpose of the entire communication becomes wasted. So what you don't say, you can remain silent for a longer period of time, but the more you communicate, the better your fluency level. It gives you a very clear picture of what is going on than what you say. And your body language. Your body language includes your facial expression, gesture, posture. When we talk about the process of communication, according to an expert called Mehrabian, who stated the 100% communication process lies in 55% of your body language and 38% of your tone and only 7% of words. So 55% of your communication is dependent on the body language that you are going to exhibit. It could be through facial expression, gesture, posture, or your eye movement, your hand expressions. And the 38% of your communication is dependent on the tone of the voice or the tone of your speech. The tone decides the command of language. The tone, if you use the tone appropriately, people tend to listen successfully. If you don't use the tone, appropriately, and they may lose that interest on the topic. So it's better to use the tone and body language very effectively, and that too 93%, that is 55% of your body language and the 38% of your tone. These two components are coming under non-verbal communication, and the 7% alone words will play the role. For example, when you're at home, your father has brought you some guests, and at the time, by looking at your mom, he simply makes a head nod, and your mom never even asks any questions, and she will go for preparing tea and snacks for the guests who have turned up to your house. So at that moment, without even a single word, what is really transmitted is your non-verbal communication. For example, in a press wire conference conducted at Kansas University, USA, a report that has stated the women tend to communicate non-verbally better than men, because many a times for many years the women were kept inside home, and through which they are able to understand the cues of non-verbal communication successfully than men. For example, when a child is crying and you look at the father is sitting on the couch or on the sofa and starts reading the newspaper without even much botheration. He never even identifies the kid is crying, but simply reads the newspaper or watches the television. But whereas the mother, who has been inside the kitchen and rushes to the child and takes it and consoles it, cajoles the child not to cry. This will happen only with the case of women. So women tend to communicate non-verbally better than men. So the body language that is completely inclusive of your facial expression, gesture, and posture. All these factors are more important. And another important component which we are going to discuss in order to ensure that you are going to be an effective communicator, and for which there are certain barriers that you need to come across. According to an expert called H.T. Thoreau, a great American writer, who talked about the greatest compliment that was ever paid to me was when someone asked me what I thought and attended to my answer. The greatest compliment is, was ever paid to me was someone has been asking me, what do you think? And they are ready to listen your answer. So at that moment, your communication becomes successful. And the first important barrier that comes to you as an effective communicator, from turning you to be an effective communicator, is judging the other person. You are judging a person whilst you are talking to them. You could be criticizing, diagnosing, or calling them by names. just simply, as it happens in software industry, even a person who is really an experienced one, maybe more than his age or his or her age, calling the person by name, that could be the order of the day in software industry. But that is not going to happen in our day-to-day life. When you look at a senior, when you look at an aged person, you are calling him by sir or madam. And without even knowing that, we tend to judge others very easily. An example, sometimes even after having a big talk and someone has been asking you, don't you understand anything? We tend to judge others very easily, and we tend to criticize others very quickly, and that will limit our communication process. And number two, not paying attention to the person you are talking to. While you are going to communicate with others, please ensure that you are going to pay attention to the person, because people skills are more important. And there is a golden rule to be an effective speaker is pay attention to the other person, like the way you want to be respected by others. If you want to be respected by others successfully, you need to show the same level of respect to others. So if you are going to pay attention to the other person you are talking to, then he also is ready to pay more attention to you. So playing with your mobile or not listening to the thoughts or feelings of the person you are speaking to, or looking away when the other person is talking, and it naturally irritates the other person if you are not going to pay more attention. So if you don't pay more attention, naturally you do lose more information flow. To be an effective communicator, you have to pay more attention to the minute details of it. So where there is a hope of communicating, and speak to them with a full heart and pay attention to all your right. And if you are going to pay attention to all your right, as Aristotle has stated, speak so that I know who you are. So using a technical language, have you ever been at an event when people are using some acronyms or language related to their profession? Try to use a technical language when it is needed. Otherwise, use very, very simple language and very well known vocabulary. It is not the place to showcase all your language proficiency, but try to ensure that they are able to understand the other person's emotions by quickly reading them. So what best you can do is don't try to use acronyms or technical jargons unnecessarily. When it is really needed, you can use them, because something has been called as a register of language. The language which could be used by a cricketer is a totally different from a magician. A language which is spoken by a doctor is totally different from an astronaut. A language that is spoken by a researcher is totally different from an astronomer, an astrologer. So it is very important for us to understand this process, and that communication is called as register of language. We say the variety of the use of language by a particular speaker or a writer in a particular context is called as a register of language. So when we use the technical language, this language must be very simple, direct, and which is not clumsy or redundancy, or it should not have a lot of repetition of words. For example, People tend to often begin their communication by saying, needless to say that. If it is needless to say, then why do you say? We are collaborating together. You cannot collaborate alone. So people often do commit mistakes, like it is a new innovation. Either you can use it's new or it is innovation. So use technical language very sparingly, and only when you are in need of it, try to use it. Otherwise, simply because of that, you are a learned crew, don't use the technical vocabulary unnecessarily. And try to use the language related to the profession. What you're really practicing must be spoken. And giving solutions or unwanted advice. I'm not sure of many people who like to be told what to do. Okay, many times people never listens the advices of others, or people do hate advices from others. And what about you? Are you interested in listening the advices from others? Avoiding concerns of others. The listener doesn't address the problem, including the diverting the conversation. So you need to avoid the concern of others, what he has felt, what she has felt. If I have spoken, if I'm going to speak about this, what do they think of me? Okay, whether they are going to consider me as a good human being or a bad one, or a good citizen, or a good student. What do they think of others? What do they think of me? Okay, how the world is going to look at me. So try to avoid all the botherations before you are communicating. Once you are able to communicate it very successfully, everybody, the whole world is going to listen you. For which I'm going to give you a 9-step method to make you an effective speaker. The first and the foremost quality of being an effective speaker is listening. There is a theory involved in the communication process called as listen and respond, or RR theory, receive and respond. First, listen them 100%. Then you can say, yes, you can do, no, you cannot do. So be an active listener. So listen twice as much as you speak. Listen with your whole body. Be alert and interested in the other person. Refrain from interrupting and reflecting back what you have heard. So I do repeat. Listen twice as much as you speak. So mostly we never listen 100%. Even though in an active hours of a communication per day, 11 to 12 hours we do spare, and mostly 45% of our active hours we do spare for listening. Even though listening becomes part of it, our professional life, like 5 to 6 hours, we do listen to different lectures delivered by teachers and by listening to music, etc., etc. But we never pay more attention to the listening skills. So listen twice as much as you speak. Listen with your whole body. Be alert and interested in the other person. And try stopping from interrupting. Don't stop the other person. Let him speak. Let them complete. Please do wait for your time to come and speak. And reflecting back what you have heard. So remember, according to Ralph Nicholas, the most basic of all human needs is the need to understand and be understood. When someone has been communicating, it's better to listen, better to understand, and be understood. Be an active listener. The best way to understand people is to listen to them. according to great experts, the effectiveness of listening comes from listening it again and again, practicing listening. The best way to understand the people, understand the whole world, is to listen to them successfully. And the second important quality is nonverbal communication. As I had given certain guidelines connected with your body language, your tone, your eye movement, your facial expression. All these components are coming under nonverbal communication. The more effective use of your body language will be effectively helping you to communicate as a better communicator. So as I had stated, 55% of your communication is dependent on your body language. And third one is ask questions. When you are in conversation with someone, ask questions that will show that you are interested in them. But the biggest point is we stop asking questions from our own childhood. Immediately, whenever a child has been asking a question, immediately that either the teacher or the parent has been stating it. Come on, why are you asking these sort of questions? Stop. Through which we do kill our own inquisitive nature. According to Sir Ken Robinson, an expert in child language communication, he has delivered a lecture in TED Talks, in TED Talks. Sir Ken Robinson, who delivered a lecture in TED Talks, TED Talks, Technology, Education and Development Talks, TED, under which he delivered a lecture that is based on how schools kill the creativity of the child. How the schools of today kill the creativity of children. We never allow the child to ask questions from the early stages. So there are several types of questions you can ask. First one is open questions. The question that starts with the what and how. What do you need? How to do this? How to fill the water in the jug? How to fill this balloon? Okay, immediately, there is an answer. Directly, it has come from your mouth. And the second type of question that you can ask is closed type. A question that starts with, did you do that? Do you want? Okay, would you mind doing it? Will you help me in this case? Like that. So these are all, closed questions that will elicit answers from you as yes or no. The second type of question. The third type of question is specific. It begins with when or where, who, which is your classroom. Okay, where are you going? When are you coming back? Who are you talking to? Like that, asking very specific questions. And the fourth type is visionary, quite imaginary questions. Talking about your own responses, eliciting your responses. What are your dreams? Tell me something about your dreams. Okay. For example, visionary questions. What is your opinion about the education system of today? How do you see the country in the next 10 years? Okay. So like that, visionary questions. Where do you want to live after your graduation? So like this, asking visionary questions, or a question that makes you to dream and to give your best answer. So ask questions. Don't hesitate to ask questions either to the teacher or to the speaker. And being clear and succinct. very compact, very crisp, and decisive. When you are speaking, be clear, articulate, and concise. Be very precise in your communication. Less is more when it comes to speaking, and speak very plain English. So the less you talk, you may be considered as an intelligent person. Even though my earlier statement, I have stated, the more you speak, your communication will be better. But speak with a lot of sense. So when it comes to speaking, speak very plain English. And the next important point is to ensure to make you an effective communicator is clarifying and summarizing. To ensure that you are hearing correctly, you can reflect back to clarify what you have heard and summarize what you have heard from the other person. So try to summarize what you have heard. So that is one of the reasons at the end of each lecture, the teacher might be asking the question, do you understand? Do you require any clarification? Or to sum up, or to precisely say, to conclude. Okay, like this, these are tougher questions, will give you a reinforcement. So to ensure you are hearing correctly, you can reflect back to clarify what you have heard and summarize what you have heard from the other person. So the next important point is being empathetic. Having empathy for other person, having a great concern, consider that the other person is also a human being. It is the best way to understand and share the feelings of the other person. Now I'm going to play a short video, and that will help you to understand this process of being empathetic. Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's what is more about being empathetic. Having empathy for other person is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So this video clip might have given you an insight into the other people's heart. The next important point is to be an effective communicator is providing feedback. Feedback process is a vulnerable place to be. The vulnerable indicates what makes you vulnerable, makes you beautiful. You may be vulnerable indicates the feeling of being affected emotionally or psychologically. If you are going to provide a feedback to other person, then naturally you feel happier to give that feedback, or do you feel like, why should I give the feedback to this person? Sometimes a feedback is given by the manager to an employee could be the last time he has been receiving the feedback. Maybe the other person sacked from his job. So providing a feedback is very important, and vulnerability means the quality of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. According to Google, we say that if you are going to hurt somebody emotionally or physically, when you are going to expose the other person, then naturally you are going to make that the system very weak. So vulnerability is the core of all emotions and feelings. So the more you are going to communicate with others, and the better efficiency in his or her emotions. So according to a book which is written by Brené Brown, the title of the book is Daring Greatly. Looking at them greatly, daring, okay, confidently looking at them, right? So in that book, Brené Brown had specifically talked about the vulnerability or providing feedback to others. So once you tend to communicate the feedback can lead to engagement or disengagement. Probably I could make it a little bit bigger. Is it okay? Yeah. So when you are going to give that feedback to others, probably the other person should not be hurt at any point of time. So if we are growing, we are always going out to be out of our comfort zone. So when you are going to come out of your comfort zone, that means you are growing very naturally. Okay. When a small seed that has been germinated properly into the sand, and it has been coming out with a small leaf, that means it is growing. The seed is coming out of its comfort zone and grows as a big banyan tree in future. That means it is been coming out of its comfort zone and it turned out to be a big banyan tree, and it gives shelter to hundreds and thousands of organisms in the earth. So don't try to stick on to your comfort zone and try to emulate try to grow yourself as a better person. So when you are going to give that feedback, please do consider, I'm ready to sit next to you rather than across from you. Don't provide the feedback by ensuring that the person is sitting at the opposite side. Just sit next to him and ask what are the problems he has been coming across. I'm willing to put the problem in front of us rather than between us. The problem is not between you and the other person. It's not the case. We are going to focus on the particular problem rather than the problem is between the individuals. And the third important point, you need to connect. You are ready to listen, ask questions, and accept that I may not fully understand the problem. Sorry, I'm not fully understand the problem, but I'm ready to listen. I'm willing to ask questions connected to this. And the fourth point is, I want to acknowledge what you do well instead of picking apart your mistakes. So instead of pointing my finger, okay, whenever you do point your fingers like this, the first finger, the index finger that shows you, the remaining three fingers are noting towards you as an individual. So always consider that, you are not going to pick the problems of others, pick the mistakes of others. You are going to recognize the problems of others. And then try to give the feedback connected with recognizing the strengths and how you can use them to address your challenges. So strengths and weaknesses. When we are asked to describe the strengths and weaknesses, everyone is going to say, I'm really short-tempered, a little bit lazy. I'm not good at memorizing the names of people. I'm not good at organizing ideas, things, etc. So you try to recognize your strengths. When someone has indicated you are a good painter, you are a good artist, you are a good musician, you are a good dancer, try to recognize that strength, and then that will make you to overcome the challenges. And I can hold you accountable without shaming or blaming you. Accountability is an important factor to make you an effective communicator. Without insulting, how you can really ensure that the person is going to be answerable and will become responsible. We can genuinely thank you for your efforts rather than criticize you for your failings. If someone has been failing, and don't criticize immediately, and try to thank them for the efforts he had taken 100%. So the next important point is develop the trust and the rapport. Try to create a relationship with others. So according to Ralph Waldo Emerson, the glory of a friendship is not the outstretched hand. You are not going to extend your helping hand to others, not the kindly smile, nor the joy of companionship. It is the spiritual inspiration that comes to one when you discover that someone also believes in you and is willing to trust you with your friendship. So according to Emerson, it's the spiritual inspiration that comes when you discover that someone else believes in you. The whole world is ready to listen to you. The whole world is ready to believe in you. And you have a lot of friends to get trusted. So be patient and being present. Okay, so being present, accepting the other person you are communicating with, allowing life to be as it is. So cultivating the compassion and having a beginner's mind. Always try to have a beginner's mind. Okay, if you are going to begin something, and ensure that you are the first person to learn, and try to be the first learner. So according to Thich Nhat Hanh, a great philosopher, who eloquently says, the most precious gift we can offer others is our presence. by appearing before them. When mindfulness embraces those who love, they will bloom like flowers. Simply your presence makes them felt more good about you. So if you want to be an effective communicator and try to ensure that you are going to communicate to them with a full heart. According to Susan Gillis Chapman, the founder of a Greenlight Communication, who emphasizes that mindless storylines gain momentum from speed and restlessness. So it is important to slow it down. The way you are going to communicate to the other person, you have to bring them by intentionally bringing gaps into our conversation. We must open the space for genuine listening. We must listen 100% and give a pause that someone will ring a bell to interrupt our conversation. So you can see several times when people tend to communicate, right? When people tend to communicate in a debate, the judge may be ringing the bell to ensure that the person is listening and has to be mindful about his or her communication. And then there is a pause for the length of 3 breaths and the discussion resumes, okay? 1 minute, and then you will continue that communication. So the pause practice gives us a quick exit from the momentum of conversation. So that we are able to remember the power of silence to reconnect us with the present moment. So try to create a pause while you are communicating, and that pause must make others feel happier and must make others to expect you to speak. They are really expecting the words from you. Such a pause you have to make while you are communicating. By pausing, you stop the automatic reaction of walking away, screaming, or saying something hurtful, and you create the space to respond differently and with great compassion for other human beings. So instead of telling a hearty congratulations, have you thought about what happens if it doesn't work? Imagine that when you're going to congratulate someone and the other person is not going to react. Why you are telling me congratulations? What have you done? Instead, he keeps himself quiet and paused, took a deep breath and thought about the French personality, some heart, you know. I knew that it's a very tough time to overcome this industrial problems, but still you are able to jump into the solutions very quickly, and you are able to identify solutions for this particular problem. So when you are asked to the question, when you're asked a question to others, don't frustrate others by your questions, and have a compassion, and that mindfully when you are going to communicate with others. A person who felt compassion towards him or his worldview, you can communicate with great mindfulness. So grew up speaking a language that encourages us to label, compare, demand, and pronounce judgments rather than to be aware of what we are feeling and needing. So most of our reactions come from a place of putting ourselves first. So don't think that you are the first person to be there everywhere. It's easier to put the blame on someone or something else. We honk our horn at the guy in front of us because we believe that where we have to be is more important. So imagine that you are driving a car, you are riding a bike, and every time you feel that you must be there in the front and you are overtaking the other person. When somebody has been overtaking you, immediately we do react very defensively when someone gives us advices, because we believe that we already know what is best. So doubt, guilt, jealous, frustration, embarrassment, and disappointment are the one or only some of the feelings we mask with the me first attitude. So while you are going to communicate and try to be evasive of all such feelings like a guilt, doubt, jealous, frustrated, embarrassed, disappointments. So try to keep it we first. If you want to be an effective communicator, try to keep others as we first mentality is more important, which definitely shift our own thinking process, which is quite away from our own agenda. So if we can see the person in front of us as someone who is going through his or her own challenges, we remind ourselves that we all want that same outcome. We want the same solution as others expected. So to feel worthy, loved, seen, heard, and accepted, then we can let our own walls collapse and can stop open even in conflict. Even when we have the biggest challenges in front of us, when we are ready to accept others with great happiness, we can really become more successful as a great communicator. That's what is really expected from you. So the last point connected with being an effective communicator is to consciously express your needs. You must first identify how you feel. Saying something like, I feel like a loser, I feel like a winner, I feel I'm always coming up very short. Okay, I'm not good at doing this and that. So it's not really expressing feelings, but more of an interpretation of what do you think about yourself. So once you understand your true feelings, you need to add a concrete action to avoid repeating the same clashes over and over. The goal here is to state what you want, not what you don't. The clearer we are about what we want back, the more likely we will get it. If you have more clarity in your communication, naturally what you're going to get it back the same. So with all your feelings and your action is well defined, now it's time to react with a lot of clarity and express yourself very slowly and concisely, so that you can ensure that you are understood by others. So when you look at your phone during your dinner, others must feel really jealous. So can you only look at your phone once during your dinner? Every time when you are sitting for watching a TV program or sitting for a dinner, we always look at the gadgets. Instead, try to look at the faces of people who are all sitting next to you and listen them. That will make you as an effective communicator. And I strongly believe that human mind is the best one to understand the emotions of others and to make you elicit the best emotions from others. So if you are able to consider others as human beings, it definitely your voices are going to be heard by the whole world. And if you practice it nobody can stop you from being an effective communicator. And thank you so much for the great opportunity you provided. And if you have any questions in this regard, you can ask me. I'm ready to clarify it. And I thank the organizers for having given me the chance of speaking in front of a large crowd and making me to be the part of this student induction program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable and an informative session, sir. Now, I invite Ms. V. Kanchana, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to propose the vote of thanks.
A warm good afternoon to the gathering. Gratitude is not only the greatest virtue, but the parent of all others. I am greatly privileged and humbly honored to propose my vote of thanks. I would like to record my sincere gratitude to our eminent and most valued invited chief guest, Dr. S. Shankar Kumar, Assistant Professor in English, PSG College of Technology, Coimbatore, who has inculcated in us his thoughts and how to be an effective communicator for the blooming buds of UG first year students of our college. Thank you, sir. We are grateful to our correspondent, Thiru K. Palanisamy Avargal, for providing us logistic support to conduct student induction program in a successful way. Thank you, sir. I express my sincere thanks to our respected principal, Dr. N. Raman, who has been working with dedication and giving us moral support on all occasions. Thank you, sir. I wish to express my deep sense of gratitude to Dr. H. Vasudevan, High KASC Coordinator, and Ms. S. Yashmin, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of English, for motivating to conduct this program. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. My special thanks to our college physical director, Dr. Shankar, for his timely help. Thank you, sir. I thank all the participants, heads of various departments, faculty members of English and other disciplines for their valuable participation. My heartfelt thanks to all the student volunteers of second MA English Literature, non-teaching staff, technicians for their support throughout the proceedings of today's function. My special thanks to all the first year UG students. Wishing you all success. Once again, I extend my sincere thanks. Thank you all.
Dear participants, feedback form has been posted in the chat box. Kindly fill it. Sir,
Please, yeah.
sir, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Okay. And I'm
Okay.
really honored. I'm really
Sir?
honored to the organizing team for having successfully conducted this student induction program. I thank the whole team of organizers for having assisted this wonderful program. Thank you very much for the great opportunity provided. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Could I leave, ma'am? Could I leave? Yashmin, ma'am.
Sir?
Ma'am, may I leave?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
okay.
You may
Okay.
leave now, sir.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yashmin, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you.